Hey, everybody. This is Michael Cujo, the optimist. And to my right hand side here is the Cordis York, the mayor of Yorktown. And today we are talking about being a father, especially in a blended family. And yeah, we're going to get right into it. I want to give a big welcome to everybody who has joined us, everybody who's getting in on the live. And to those who are watching on the recap, I would really like to welcome you guys as well. Hope that this is useful for you guys, especially, as you can see, Curtis and I are clearly fathers.
Yes.
So, we're gonna
Uh,
we're gonna be talking about things from our point of view, and that's not to say that some of this stuff won't apply to moms and people in different situations and such like that. But I mean, that's it is what it is. So I think I'll start by letting Curtis introduce himself, talk about his journey into fatherhood and all that kind of stuff, and then I'll introduce myself, and we'll get right into it. So Curtis, why don't you introduce yourself?
okay. Well, wife just came. Clean the house. Hey everyone. I am Curtis. Definitely happy to be here. Thank you, Mike, for having me and allowing me to be on this platform and share this space. I have been a father. Man, it's so weird saying that because it sounds like, oh yeah, I've been a janitor or a cook or well, I have been a father for 9 years now. I had my first son at 9 years. Well, 9 years ago, rather. And now I have two more. I got married throughout that process. My oldest son's mother is not the mother of my current two children. Well, not my current, all of them are my current children, but the children that I have here now, which
Mhm.
I'm excited about this topic, just having blended families, because I am a, a I guess a steward of a blended family. I have my two that live here, and then I have my oldest who lives with his mom, and pretty much we do every weekend or every other weekend. We don't really have a set schedule at this point, which thankfully we are on good terms and things kind of work out that way. So we are able to just adjust as needed and monitor and make revisions and work things out. So to all of the young people out there that are in a blended family and things don't look to be that good right now, there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Mhm.
Hopefully you don't have to go the legal route, but there is always that too. Thankfully, that's not my case, and I didn't have to go down that route. I'm man, there's a lot of things that you avoid and you save, and we're going to get into that later, so I won't go
Mhm.
down that pipeline. But overall, I enjoy being a father. I enjoy being a family man, and I really enjoy spending time with my children. So that's what pretty much all we do over at Yorktown. So yeah, there you have
Awesome. Awesome. Tell us a little bit about your kids. You said you got three, so I
it.
think you introduced one of them, your 9-year-old, and then you have two others.
Yes. So my oldest is 9, Curtis York the third, and he lives in South Carolina with his mother. And then I have my second oldest, or my middle child, which is Amir. He is 2, just turned 2. So I have one whose birthday is like the first week of April, and then the other's the third week of April. So that's always fun. April's a busy month. And then my mom's birthday is like right in between both of their birthdays. So it's like back to back 3 weeks of April. It's birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And then my baby girl is 8 months now. 8 months. 8 months. So yeah, a 2-year old, an 8 month old, and a 9-year old. The Solomon Project. Okay, so we got Richard Burns in the house. Kudos to
Hey,
him. He's
Richard.
a father as well. Welcome. What about you, Mike? What about your children? How's your family look?
Yeah, so a little bit by way of an introduction, and there's a reason why this channel is called The Optimist, and I put The Optimist in my little title there. It's because I got separated back in 2018, February, and through the process, I actually started writing a book that I functionally titled The Optimist Guide to Surviving Separation and Divorce. At the time, I thought that it was going to be a quick and relatively painless process. And I mean, there was already some stuff that was going down, but you know what? It was okay. I was handling it. But things went south, south. And I mean, not even like South Carolina south. I mean, like, not even like we're talking about like down in the bayou. Right,
Yeah.
it went south real quick. And that's how this whole thing came to be. So I'm coming out of it now. Just I mean, I just literally took 6 years, but just a couple of months ago I finally became a equal parent to my three children. And it was a battle. It was a battle just to become an equal parent. So I've got a 16-year-old boy. So he was 10 when we separated. So he's been in the trenches with it right since the beginning as well. Then I've got my middle child, my daughter. She's 11 years old now, and my youngest son, Jacob, is just turned 10. He's an April baby as well, actually.
Mhm, mhm.
April 19th. So he's right in the middle of all that Aprilness as well. So yeah, got three kids, and we've gone through the trenches. We've been dragged through hell and back, but there we are. Um, my family right now, I wouldn't call it blended as such, but I did go through a time where it was very blended. I had a girlfriend for a little while, and she also had four children. So between the two of us, we had four children on separate schedules and back and forth. So we had a lot of blending
Man,
go,
you had the Brady Bunch
going
going
on. We really did. So yeah, that's where it's at. That's how I'm coming to this, and that's what's brought us here today. So definitely yeah, definitely it's going to be an interesting series. It's going to be an interesting time, just talking about dad issues and such like that, talking about not only the blended familyness, right, which is definitely a big topic to hit, but we'll talk about in future episodes. We'll talk about, the separation act, the separation divorce aspects. We'll talk about, how we're, doing fathering issues and such like that. So I feel like there is so much to talk about, and especially as men, there is not as much as of a forum for us to talk, and there's not as much of a safe space for us to have and talk, because the world has taught us, especially in North America, that men don't cry. We've got to be the strong ones. We don't have to have all those emotions. And when you do, then people look down on you. You know,
on.
the worst thing a guy can be called is a softie, right?
And
and
that's putting it nice.
and that's putting it nice. And I mean, I am a softie. Like, I
Mhm,
am soft as they come.
mhm,
And and I've never seen it as a bad thing. Like, I wear my emotions right out on my sleeve. I am as
mhm,
open as open as it comes, and I see that as a good thing. So through this, I want to encourage other men, especially, to be open. It's okay, right? If your boys are jiving with you and calling you a big softy or whatever else they want to call you, it's all right, right? There's nothing wrong with being soft. There's nothing wrong with having a hard day and just talking about it and whatever not, right? That's not the domain of that's not just the domain of females, right? Especially, I mean, it's 2024. We're supposed to be equal, right? We're all about equality, right? And equality is equality right down the road, not just when it's convenient for one side or the other, right? If we want to be equal, then let's be equal, right?
100%. 100%.
So as people are filtering in, I see we've got a couple of people in there. I see Rich is back, lost his connection, but welcome back. Let's get right into there. So today's topic is really about the blended family aspect, and I know, Curtis, you're really right in the blending right now. You're in the blender. But
Yes.
let's just start maybe by discussing, like, what is it like for you, kind of balancing, you know, children in two different situations, two different styles of parenting, two different schedules. Like there's a lot to manage when you've got your kids in two different places when you're trying to blend a family. So let's just start and get in there, and we'll just go from there.
Okay, yeah, for real. That sounds good. So, I would say for me, the biggest thing is communication more than anything. Me and my child's mother, we talk a lot. And even with that, you have to have balance to where, your wife doesn't feel some type of way. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, you are still talking to another woman. So,
Yeah.
it's definitely a balancing act. And, I can really say that my wife is very awesome about that. She helps out a lot. And everything starts with communication, just being transparent and upfront, and just, dealing with things as they come. Not being there a lot. It's a lot of, and this is something that I've noticed that I kind of had to work on myself. As a father, coming from a situation where, my father wasn't in the household either. He was involved, but he just wasn't in the household. Initially, for a long time, I just felt like I had to be at every single thing, and I had to do everything because,
Hmm.
my father wasn't there as much as I would like. And then I just remember talking to, my son's mother. She was like, he doesn't really care if you don't come or you don't make it, and just her saying that was a lot of work. It took a lot to even get there because there were a lot of rough patches, and by no means do I have the perfect situation or do I have everything figured out. If I did, I'm pretty sure I have a lot more money than I do now because I would package it up and sell it. But just having an understanding with yourself, communicating with everyone, just making sure that everyone knows what's going on, what you can do, what you can't do, and
Hmm.
um, just being there more than anything. I think that that goes a long way as well. So it's tricky, man. And honestly, I always tell people, um, just because you see what I do and you think it looks cool, I don't encourage it or I don't promote it at all. If you have a child with somebody, then you should definitely try to be with that person. And if you don't think you would be with that person, then you probably want to stay away from putting yourself in that position because it
Hmm.
does take a toll and it does affect the children. There's a lot of times where, my son is torn because he wants to come up here, but he wants to stay and,
Yeah.
just trying to not hurt anyone's feelings, or maybe he might miss something here that, or he'll miss something there. So
Hmm.
I'm always team, and I sometimes, to a fault, I'm telling people like, hey, if you got a child out of wedlock, you might want to marry her, and not from a religious aspect or not from a moral aspect, but from a convenience aspect. It just so I mean, let's
Boy,
be
it's just more convenient to marry her.
what's that old song? It's cheaper to keep it, man. If you can figure it out and you can make it work, it's always better to just, figure it out. If it's
Yeah.
now, granted, there's some instances where it's just impossible. And if that's the case, then, then you have to figure out the next best thing. But if you can figure it out and you can make it work, man, it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, to that point, we have to acknowledge that it won't always work. I mean,
$100.
I was married for 11 years, right? And I thought those were 11 good, strong years until they weren't, right? And then, we ended up, and I mean, we both ended up in the same place, right? One without marriage to that person, one with. So, that's all to say that, you're right, right? It is best, right? If you can be with one person and stuff like that, it will uncomplicate your life 1,000%. But it's also not always it's not always possible, right?
Right.
And I mean, I hear you when you talk about kids being torn. I mean, my oldest son is 16, and he is still constantly torn between both parents. And I mean, you're lucky. Like I'm gonna say right up right now, you are a lucky man that you have got a good relationship with your ex and all that as well, because I don't. Right? I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm not gonna put a little powder on it or
That's why we're
stick
here,
some
right?
lipstick on it. Right? We do not, right? And I live in a world where sometimes I had to go the route now of I don't tell my kids sometimes what I have planned too far in the future, because I know that if my ex finds out about it, she will find some way to turn that into a negative. Say, oh, well, you're going to be missing out on this because of this, and you're going to be missing out on
Mhm.
this. And then the kids start to feel bad and they start to feel torn. So I've had to take the tact of literally, like, sometimes I'll get a text from my daughter, in the midst of her schedule with her mother, and she'll say, oh, what are we doing? And I'll say, we'll talk about it on Friday when you're here. Right. Because I know that, once I've put it out there, then, stuff starts to happen. And then, there's been so many times where she's come on a Friday and she says, I don't want to do blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, right. And it's not for any reason, but because that thing that I said, she talked about it. And I mean, kids, right here, here's a little tip for you for everybody out there, your kids. Kids do not keep secrets.
No, oh.
Young children do not keep secrets.
No, not at
If
all.
you have told it to your child, the other side is going to hear about it.
And everybody
Period.
else.
And that's right. And everybody else too.
Yeah.
But definitely. So, I've had to take the tact of not that I'm keeping secrets from them, but I am choosing when they get told certain things in order to keep them from feeling like either they're missing out on my side or missing out on their side. Like sometimes even I don't tell my kids what I do. Like right now, my oldest son is with me, but my other two are with their mother right now. And I don't tell them the things that we do, because when they come back and they find out, like I went bowling with my son and one of his friends just this afternoon, and I know that when my kids come back next week, they're gonna say, "You went bowling without me," right? And it's because in their heads, right, life stopped here. Like they left out that door, right? My door's over there, and life, like it's like the pause button was pressed. Wherever I was, whatever I did, I just kind of went until they come back, right?
Right.
And it takes a bit for them to, and even though they know that that's not the case, right? They know that I work, they know that I do things, they know that I'm not just sitting down at home, with the pause button hit until they return. But it still hits them right there when they hear that, oh, daddy was doing this fun thing, daddy was doing that fun thing, I wish I was there to do that. And I don't want them to feel like that, right?
Right.
I try very hard to not let them feel like that. And I mean, I'm sure it's the same thing when they go back to their mothers. I'm sure they hear about this thing that their mother did or that thing that their mother did, and they feel like, oh, I wish I was there, right? And I mean, it's hard enough on children, right? Like us adults, we fight, we do our thing, and we can look somebody in the eye and we can say some horrible, nasty, things, and then the kids hear it or whatever not, but they feel torn. Like we think that kids don't hear us, we think that kids don't see those sideways look or those eye rolls, or they don't hear those comments when we're on the phone, to somebody else or whatever not, but they hear them, and they hear them all, right?
Yeah.
They hear them all. And that has been a tough pill for even me to swallow, that, right, my kids, even after they've gone to bed, I mean, I'm guilty of it. I mean, once I close the door to my kids' room, I think the pause button has been pressed to their rooms, right? And as soon as I close the door, they just lights out, right? But it's not. So when I get on the phone with like my parents or a friend or whatever not, they're hearing those things, and it can tear them up, a fair bit. So it's definitely something to that you got to be careful with, right? And just know that your kids are listening. The
Yes.
kids are just listening. Hey, Nikki, welcome back. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's nice
Man.
to see you. So yeah, I mean, but let's, I mean, I know I've kind of touched into it already, kind of some of the challenges, but, we've got two different, and, I just got to shout out to you because, and we've talked about this before, but me and you are two totally different people in two
Yes.
totally different situations,
Yes.
almost to a fault, right? I mean, I know I didn't say it, but I'm actually in Canada, right? That's where I'm from. You're down in the States in North Carolina,
Charlotte.
right?
Hmm.
So, we've got two different points of view that way, right? I am like, everybody knows that my blackness goes skin deep, and that's about it. Right. That, that's
We're
that's
working on
about it.
that. We're working
We're
on
working on it, right? But we're in two different situations. You've got what seems to be a very good relationship with your child's mother, and I 100% do not like, and there's no sugarcoating it, right?
it.
We have gone down like horrible paths, and just to give a little bit about that before I go into this next topic, so we can get that juxtaposition, right? I have lived a life where I have been accused of literally every type of abuse there is. When
Mm,
my ex decided to leave, she got what's called a emergency protection order against me, and she basically told a judge that when she left, I tried to break her arm. Now that judge never asked to just see her arm, and my ex is a white woman, so like it would have been very obvious if I
mm,
had tried to break her wrist because she would have had a bruise. Never asked, never asked, right? I've been accused of being emotionally abusive. I've been accused of being. I've been right down to be quite frank, right? So if you don't like some of this stuff, you might just want to kind of plug your ears. But I've been accused of molesting my daughter, at one
mm.
point, which meant that I could not see any of my children for 6 months while I fought that accusation, right? So, 6 years in and 6 years of fighting, right? We are absolutely not in a place where we
Is
are.
that, I thought you were answering Nikki's
uh,
question.
that is, I'm going to get there in a second, Nikki. I'm going to get there in a second. But, we're absolutely not in a place where we have any sort of good relationship or anything like that. So I'm gonna actually address this. So Nikki P, and hey Nikki, she's asking, do you think there's anything that could fix it, or am I good with it being how it is? And no, I'm not good with it being how it is, right? It has taken me 6 years to acknowledge that it is what it is, right? I don't like it. I don't love it at all. But 6 years in, I have realized that it is not going to change. And here is the weird thing, and this is going to throw you all for a loop. I have a really good relationship with my ex's mother and grandmother. So she cut them out of her life as soon as they started disagreeing with her, and they realized at some point in time that, hey, the only way they're ever going to see their grandkids or great grandkids is through me. So we've reconciled.
Mm,
So I have a good relationship with my ex's mother and her grandmother. In fact, first week in June, me and the kids are heading over there to have a barbecue, and she's got a hot tub and
mhm,
whatever. Not we're gonna chill over there, right? So I've had to come to the knowledge, number one, that I actually didn't do anything to person. I'm not saying that I was perfect. Please do not get that from what I'm about to say, right? Don't get me wrong that I was either, like, I'm trying to say I was perfect or I was the best dad that there ever was, or the best husband that there ever was. I was not. I've made all the same mistakes that everybody else has, and in future episodes we'll go deeper into that. But I have had to get it into my own, not just my head, but my heart, that I was not the precipitator of what happened, right? I did
mm,
not cause these things to happen. And once I started to really understand that, not that I was perfect, but that, I was not so bad that it caused these things to happen. Right. Once I finally got started getting that into my mind and especially into my heart, it was a lot easier to just kind of open up and say, okay, this is what happened. This is where it is. And do I think that me and my ex are ever going to be to that point where, we can sit down and have a coffee and talk and whatever or not? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know that we'll ever get there. I kind of doubt it, right? Just based on the last 6 years. I'm going to be honest, I kind of doubt it. But, you know, would I be open to? I mean, it would take a lot. Like I would, I would, right. And this is one of the things. Like I'm writing the last part of the book that I'm writing, and I'll touch on that more later as well. But one of the things I'm talking about is what the return of the optimist looks like. And one of the things that it looks like is I am not as trusting. I'm trusting, like I am very trusting, but I'm not as trusting, right? I'm not the same person who would just talk to somebody on the street and just automatically be trusting of that person. Right now I am, anybody that I'm talking to, anybody that I'm liaising with or relating with, right? There's always in the back of my head, is this person going to, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Right. And that has and that has been part of it. So even if, she was to come right now and say, hey, you know what, Michael, I'm sorry, things got way, way, way out of hand. Let's, reconcile. It would take a lot for me to be like, okay, let's go down that path, right? Because we've got so much history behind there. So, I mean, would I like it? Yeah, I would like it. I would like it, right? Because it's better for the kids, right? One of the reasons why I was open to reconciling with her mother and her grandmother is because I know that's better for the kids, right? To have a relationship with the maximum amount of family that they could. But even that was a hard road to toe, right? I mean, when I tell people that I have good conversation with my ex's parents, right, they go, "You do? Why?" Right? Even my own parents sometimes question the wisdom of that. And I have to tell them, right? This is not about my comfort level, right? This is about what is best for my three children,
Yeah.
right? That's what it is. So I think there's a question for you actually, Curtis. So I'll let you grab that one.
Okay, and let me just say, that's why in America we don't play in the snow.
Like,
We don't play in the snow. I think what's his name? The guy learned that the hard way. Jonathan Majors. We try to stay away from the snow, but um, let's see. Nikki said, "Does Koi mom and your wife have a relationship?" Yeah, they definitely have a relationship, and even that, it was time. It was a process. A lot of communication, man. I don't think you were in here when I was just talking about the importance of communication, just talking through things. You know, yeah, because for me, my situation was when my child's mother and I broke up and we just decided that we never get back together, and that was just kind of out of the question. For years I never had any woman around my son at all, like never. Like the first woman that he's ever seen me with was Tommy. Um now granted during that time there were women in my life, and we talked and things like that, but I just never really felt comfortable to bring anyone around my kid. Like that was just my thing. And I never judged her or gave her that same ultimatum, but that's just where I was. Like I just really didn't want him to be around women that I didn't really think would be there for the long haul or serious. So, once I've really felt like Tommy was that, I brought him around her, and then, we had a conversation with his mom, and things were weird. We're in a good place now, so I don't really want to like I don't
yeah, it
want to
would
jump
be.
on a landmine and what I'm saying, bring anything up, but I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to filter anything. So it was a little skeptical at first, just the fact that, like I said, Coy never really saw me with anyone, and she may have heard things or she may have saw things, but it was never like, oh well, this is serious. So and then I didn't really play around. Like once I realized that, Tommy was the person that I wanted to be with, we got married, and and we ended up having another kid. So, you know, things did move very fast, but at the same time, my intentions were always to marry her and to be serious and committed to her. So, you know, it was just a respect thing of the way that I handled the situation, because it wasn't like this was just some random woman that was just hanging around or trying to replace the mom or anything like that. No, it's just, you know, this is just a really, really, really solid person that cares
Mhm.
about me and cares about Coy as well. And so at the end of the day, we just always make sure that, like you said, Mike, the main focus is what's in the best interest of the kid. So we always, you know, and there's been times where it gets off track and you kind of just got to reel it back in, like what's best
Mhm.
for the kid. And that's kind of been the compass to just keep things civil and cordial, to where, you know, if it
Yeah.
ever gets out of whack or off track, then we just bring it back to the main point of focus. So to answer your question, yeah, they have a relationship. Like they talk, and you know, they talk sometimes, and I don't even know that they talk. They have conversations and things like that. Now, are they best friends? No, I don't think so. But you know, they talk. You know, and so at the end of the day, it's all about doing what's best for Coy. So that's just the guiding principle. And no, I do not consider myself the cool dad whatsoever. I'm dad, and I'm not a friend. You know, we may laugh and we may joke and we may play, but you know, there's still that line that's drawn and crossed. I mean,
Mhm.
granted, to a certain degree, I think in this era, and I don't know if you want to touch on that, Mike, but just with the technology and the access that kids have these days, you kind of have to have that relationship where they come to you first and they talk to
Mhm.
you about things.
Mhm.
And you know, luckily I've been in the position to where, you know, I could talk to my son about everything, and I've
Yeah.
never lied to him, to the point where, you know, I've had issues and I've had falling out with other people on the other side, because it's like, I'm going to tell the truth. You know, if he's old enough to ask a question and he's old enough to get the answer,
Get the
so
answer. Yeah.
I'm gonna tell him, and whatever happens based off of that, it is what it is. But I'm going to, like, I give you. I remember one time he asked me about Santa Claus. And I'm like, son, Santa ain't real, and everybody was so mad.
Uh-oh.
I'm like, if you asking, clearly you heard something and you need validation. So yeah,
Mhm.
we had that talk, and I said it, and we had a big falling out, and you know, we got past it. But it's like, I'm just not gonna lie, like, so
Yeah.
yeah.
So let me ask a follow-up question, that because you said, you never brought Koi around any other, female that, you had any sort of relationship with until Tomi. That was that was kind of part of your process to protect Koi from the whole, the old whole awkwardness, or what was your thought process?
It just seemed weird to me. I don't know. It's like, you
Okay.
know, again, like if I have a woman that, you know, I'm not really taking serious, or even if it's a
Mm,
girlfriend and I just don't feel like it's something that's going to be long term, then why even open that door or introduce that situation? Because then it's like, well, what happened to so and so? And then I got to tell them, like,
yeah,
so and so just ain't it, you know? And
yeah.
so just to avoid that, I never really opened that door. And
I hear you. I hear you.
yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense, and I totally get you on being honest with the kids. One of the things that I have worked very, very hard on is being what I call radically honest, right? I don't lie to the kids, right? On any particular topic. When they ask me about something about, the past or the present or the future or whatever not, I tell them the truth. And I've had to do that because, I mean, I am somebody who has already been under investigation from the police. I've been under investigation from, child services and this agency and that agency and the courts and all that kind of stuff. And what I've learned is the downright easiest thing to do is just be honest, right? Because those people, especially those agencies, are looking for the little cracks in your armor. They're looking for you to be a little bit dishonest about something so they can dig and wiggle and crack it open, right? And so, I have been honest with the kids, and I've told the kids that they can be honest too, right? I have told my kids, at least, that there are no secrets in this household. Anything that happens in this house, if they want to tell their mother that it happened, they absolutely can, for better or for worse or whatever not. I do not ask my kids to keep secrets, and I'm always honest, and I always want them to be honest about how they're feeling or what. And I mean, that's come back to bite me a couple of times, right? Right. It has. And I mean, like, I can tell you stories, but it has definitely come back to bite me, for sure. So, but I do try that. I mean, I think it's important that the kids feel that somebody is being open and honest with them. And the flip side of that, or the better side of that, is that they then feel that they can be honest with me,
Hmm.
right? Because kids aren't stupid, right?
Right.
Right? The kids aren't stupid. They know when you are not being forced right with them. They know it, right? They
Especially.
don't. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So they know. So, it's a lot easier and a lot less of a headache just to be honest and say, you know what, here it is. Right. I mean, obviously age appropriate, right? When my
Mhm.
kids were, 5, 6, and 10, I told them things very differently than I do now that they're 10, 11, and 16, right? Those are different conversations. The truth behind it is the same, but the way that comes out is very, 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 very different for sure.
Mhm.
So Nikki is deep into the weeds with us today.
Mhm.
Definitely see how uncomfortable it was for you to go over to the ex's house after hearing all that you went through. Yeah, it's you know what? I have an Apple Watch, and every time I go to my ex's house to drop off the kids, even today, like 6 years later, like, or anytime I'm in court, I'll get one of those warnings for my watch that says, your heart rate is too high while you've been standing still. It thinks I might be having a heart attack, right? Like, it's definitely one of those things. So,
Has your ex moved on? Is she back out there dating or?
so she has, and I mean, all the information that I have on her is more anecdotal or from the kids and such like that, or unfortunately from police reports. So I know she was in one relationship afterwards that was not very good,
Man.
and that's as deep as I'll go into that one for the time being. And I think that
Mhm.
I'm told that she's in another relationship right now, but it doesn't seem to be very deep. So I know
Mm.
Nikki was asking if we're the cool dad. I see myself as the only dad, right? To be 100% honest, right? There's nobody who is going to come into their life that is going to be dad number two or whatever not. I will always see myself as their dad. Period. Right?
Mhm.
I'll tell everybody who listened, and you can quote this. I did not come into this world. I did not come into the relationship I was in to be a part-time dad, and I
Same.
do not and I don't see myself as a part-time dad. I
Same.
may I
Mhm.
may have my children at my home part-time, but I am their dad 24/7.
Same.
Right? It doesn't change just because they don't happen to be sleeping in a bed upstairs, right?
Right.
So that's uh, that's where it is. So I'm going to skip a couple of comments, just because, and I think I want to set a ground rule here, real quickly too, is that I want this to be a place for optimism, right? I mean, we're going to be real, right? Don't get me wrong. But one of the things that, I don't do, I try very hard not to do, and, I don't want this to be a place for is any, name calling or anything like that. And I mean, we have, especially as men, we have feelings, right? And some of our feelings, like my feelings right now, are still very raw,
Mm.
very raw when it comes to my ex-wife, and as a matter of fact, my ex-girlfriend too, right? It's very raw. Right, right, because it hit close because it's, still right down there, right? But one of the things that, I want this channel and this to be very mindful of is, we're gonna be as positive as we can about the people that we're with, especially the people that we are with that we have had children with, because we are forever connected no matter what, right? There is no disconnection between me and my ex. We had kids together, and we will forever be in each other's life. End of story, right? There's no way around that. So, I want us all to be as positive as we can about those people, even though we have some very raw feelings and we want to lash out and we want to say things. And I get it, right? I 100% get it. When I was going through a time when my kids were young and I wasn't allowed to be within 200 meters of their
Mm.
school, right? And their school was in my community. So there was literally wide portions of my own community that I could not even go for a walk in, right? Um, but so I have been down in it, and I mean, there are things that I could say about my ex that are completely not flattering, right? But we're gonna try and be positive. We're gonna try and be as optimistic about the future with wherever we are at and wherever we're at with our exes and various pieces of family and all those Lego pieces that we have in our lives that are fitting together. We're gonna be as positive as we can about them. Let's see, where are we at? Question for Mike. Was one of your kids more affected by the family being separated than the others, or was it the same for everyone? Nope. I will say that my eldest was 100% more affected in those ways because he was like when we broke up, we were he was 10, right? So he kind of knew, he kind of had an idea, he was cognizant enough to kind of be aware of what issues were going on, and he knew what the relationship was before as well. So, because it was a lot harder to fool him or to convince him into what the relationship was before, according to one parent or the other, it was a lot harder for him because he was hearing, very negative things on one side and not so negative things on the other side. And I'm just going to be honest, I have always tried to be very as positive as possible, right? And I do not always get there. Please do not get me wrong on that. I am not always there. Like we were even in the car today, and I made a comment, and he's like, "Oh, shots fired." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." So even
Hey.
sometimes it's like that, but I've also been very honest with him that at least from my point of view, my marriage of 11 years was a good marriage. Was it a perfect marriage? No, it was not a perfect marriage. There were some very tough things that happened. There were lots of ups and downs, just like I assumed every marriage had. So I've always told Isaac, my eldest, that hey, you know what? Our marriage was a good marriage. And of course, then from the other side, he hears that, oh no, the marriage was horrible and I was abusive and I was this and I was that. So it was very, very tough on him. Um, it's also been very tough on Sarah, obviously being the subject of some of those allegations against me. And I mean, she was taken to doctors, interviewed by the hospital and police, and this and that and the other. So I mean, at 5 years old, 6 years old, she was not at the stage where she could understand what was fully happening and why it was fully happening. So that was very tough on her. I will say that Jacob, being the youngest, has actually been the luckiest in some senses because in the beginning of all the, we'll call it fighting, I tried not to fight, but I mean, it is what it is, right? But there was it was understood that the court system sees the kids as a unit, right? And because Isaac was the oldest, he kind of spoke for the unit. So we kind of knew that, whoever kind of won Isaac's heart and mind was also going to kind of win the kids. And don't get me wrong, there is no winners in this, right? 6 years out. And yes, I've gotten to the point of being an equal parent, but I wouldn't say I've won anything, right? Because there are no winners, right? So there was that, and then when the allegations came, of course, then Sarah was in the middle of the maelstrom. Jacob has actually been lucky because basically nobody's fought over him. Which I mean, when you're older, it sounds a little more horrible than it is. Like I want somebody to fight over me, but he's been lucky that we haven't been fighting over, so he hasn't been the subject of all of that. So I think he's been a little less affected, which I count him lucky. Right, I count him lucky for that. I mean, I don't know if you'll see that as lucky when he's older, but who knows, right? I count him as lucky, I count him as lucky because of that, for sure. Right, 100%. Nikki P says she's trying to help us keep going. Nikki, I really appreciate you 100%. I really do. And trust me, I mean, we have got, we could probably talk for hours and hours and hours and episodes and episodes and episodes. And, we'll keep this to one topic today. And the next time we're going to go to another topic. And I think, we're going to do a lot of talking about this. We're going to get deep and down into the weeds. Today, we're not going to go as deep just because, I mean, we've got, time and we want to keep you guys coming back, right? That's the point of a YouTube channel. We want you coming back. And by the way, just while we're at a natural pausing point, I do want to give a couple shout outs as well. Number one, if you're here, you're watching in the replay and you have not already, please go and check out my man Curtis York. Get involved with Yorktown,
Come on
right?
down.
Right, check out his channel and all that he's going on. He is into the sneaker culture big time. Like he's got a lot of his family and such like that in there. Like he's got it going on. And I mean, he's got such a positive perspective on life and just the wisdom that comes out of him sometimes. Like it's killer. I mean, you're about 10 years younger than me, but sometimes you talk and I'm just like, oof,
I'm flattered.
right,
Thank you. I
right there,
appreciate
right there.
that.
So definitely check out Curtis York. You got anything going on? Like, got anything major coming up on the channel that we should be watching for?
Yeah, I got a couple of videos right now that I'm editing. I know a big one. A lot of people have been asking for an update on
Oh, there they are.
on these. So I definitely have my Easy Pod update coming. Just what it's been like 1 week later wearing these shoes. I actually have a big announcement coming up soon. I've told you, and I think I told everybody in the group for the most part, but I haven't told the YouTube world yet. So big announcement coming pretty soon down the pipeline. And let me see. I think I got like 3 videos that I need to edit and upload, but you space them out just to get them going. The church socks. Now
The church
yes, the church socks. Let me grab them again. The church socks. The church socks. Yes.
Those are something else. Those are something
Yeah,
else.
man. Yeah. But that's about it, man. This week is going to be interesting because I'm going to be home alone with the kids. My wife is going out of town on a work trip, so it's just going to be me and them. So definitely, whenever this content comes out, it's going to be interesting. Man versus 202. Well, technically it's 203
Under
now,
three
but they
now.
were 202 when they were born, so I still say 202. So yeah, it's going to be a fun week just to see how that goes down. What about you? We got to talk about your channel, of course. Your other
The other
channel.
channel. That's true. So I do have another channel. I think I mentioned it briefly, but MNTV. So you can check it out at MNTV Fam on YouTube. It's my family channel. We talk a lot about or we show a lot of the travels that we do, the places that we go, all that kind of stuff. Um, we've got this in the next couple of months. Actually, we're going to be going on a road trip. So we're going to be going up to some really kind of famous Canadian places in Western Canada. We're planning on going up to Jasper, way up in the mountains, then over to Banff National Park there. We're going to go into BC, and then I'm hoping to get down into Seattle, Idaho, Washington before we come up. So, it's going to be a big trip. So, watch for content on that. But that's the big thing that we've got coming up. Obviously, working on this project as well is going to keep me kind of busy and such like that as well. So one other shout out that I wanted to give, and I wish she was here. I really wish she was here, but that's all right. I want to give a shout out to Alicia as well because we probably would not be doing this right now if it was not for her. She has said it a couple of times, and she's kind of pushed and prodded and given us encouragement to go down this route and talk about the dad issues. I've seen her comments say, "Hey, you got to talk about the dad issues," and we've kind of come down this path. So I want to give a shout out to her and her channel as well, at Alicia Nicole. Check her out. The nomad life, the nomad post corporate life
Yeah.
is what she's into. She does acting, she does events, hosting, and such like that, and she brings us along on those. And it's just it's a very cool, it's amazing journey as well. So definitely check out those pages. Check out my page. Check out Curtis York's page. Subscribe to them. Subscribe
Hold
to
on, I
this
got one
page
more
as well.
shout out. I got one
Oh
more.
yeah,
Got
shout it
to.
out! Shout it out!
It would
I
be
know.
crazy if I didn't shout out my girl, Nikki P, man.
Yes,
Nikki P. Nikki P, I always said she is like the glue that just put everybody together. We met Alicia through Nikki, man. So shout out to Nikki, man. She is
100%.
always supporting, always putting in the work, always just showing love. She actually put up a video 9 hours ago, just being in Chicago, man. So
Hmm.
definitely make sure you check out Nikki P, man. I'm happy to have met her and talked to her and get some of her wisdom and information and
Hmm.
just like I said, man, she really put all of us together, man, with her group and
Yeah.
her stern attitude, stern.
Yes.
Very, very, very stern.
uh,
But yeah, man. Shout
that
out to Nikki.
100%. Nikki P, we salute you. You're our girl, and we thank you for sure for getting us all together. Like I said, I mean, there has been a lot of things that have had to come together to get us to this point, and like it would. I don't think we have to just acknowledge people and such like that that have got us here. Because like I said, I mean, me and Curtis are very different people. If it had not been for this group, there is no way we would have just randomly come across each other
Right.
otherwise, for sure. So I'm very thankful. Right, I'm thankful for you, Nikki. I'm thankful for you, Alicia, for prodding us in this direction and getting us there. So definitely thanks and thanks and thanks again. So we're getting into the home stretch. I think we had a good little break there, natural breaking point. But let's get right back into it. One of the things I wanted to ask you, if we can kind of move in this positive direction. If you were to give people who are listening some advice, right? Those who are getting into blended families or considering getting into a blended family, or by necessity or not necessity or whatever not, um, if you were to give them a piece of advice, what would you give them for advice? What would you tell them?
I'm glad you fixed it because I was going to say, yeah, if you can avoid it, then don't. So yeah, you picked it as you were going. But definitely, everybody's circumstances are different and everyone's situations are different. Some people prefer blended families, and to those people, I say kudos, man. Everybody isn't meant to be married. Everybody isn't meant to have the traditional nuclear family. And sometimes situations and circumstances happen, and they just end up being different than what you see for yourself and what you expect. So I would say more than anything, it's always best to just have an open line of communication if possible. That right there is just the foundation and the root. And without roots, anything can't grow as far as plant life. So you definitely want
Mhm.
to have a foundation and that's built on communication and honestly honesty. A lot of times honesty saves you a lot down the road. Maybe you tell somebody the truth and they just decide that the truth isn't what they want to deal with.
Yeah.
And that just means that that person isn't for you and what you have aligned for yourself. So just being upfront and honest about what you're going through, what your situations are. I know some people out here that try to hide the fact that they have kids only to get caught later. Like, like what do you think was going to happen, man? So, it's always best to just be honest and upfront and just deal with things as they come to the best of your ability and just
Mhm.
always, always, always communicate. But I'm always team if you can have a nuclear family and that's what you want, then always shoot for that. And it may require you to move differently. It may require you to say no to a lot of different women and not put yourself in position of a lot of different situations.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that as men, we go through this phase where we just have to stick something somewhere just for the feeling. And obviously,
I'm with
you
you.
know what
I'm
I'm
with you.
talking
I
about,
get
because
it.
there's
I get
really
it.
not
I get it.
many,
I get it.
you know, that can cause a lot of heartbreak and a lot of pain and a lot of literal pain too. STDs
Mm-hmm.
are real. STDs are real, so you got to be careful with that. But
Mm-hmm.
I can think back to my youth. We used to get notches on belts for that type of behavior. Like, it was
Mm-hmm.
promoted and it was condoned. And just looking at a lot of mature people, and again, it's all about what you want and what you see for yourself, because for a lot of people that type of lifestyle works, but for a lot of people it doesn't. And then you get caught up in a lot of risks and a lot of trouble and a lot of headaches that could have easily been avoided just by having discipline. So
Mm-hmm.
um I'm just going to land the plane by saying communication and discipline, more than anything, will save you a lot of headaches and heartaches.
For sure. No, I would 100% agree with that. And I gotta say too. I mean, just from the opposite side of the border, right? If you're coming out of something and going into something, right, and you are in a situation where there are different parents, different schedules, and such like that. I mean, number one, like Curtis said, just communicate, openness, honesty, all those kind of things, but also as positive as you can, because your kids know, they can feel your negativity, right? They know when, you're saying something and it's a little bit of a shot across the bow, right? They know it. The kids aren't stupid, right? When you say something and you think, I've said it, but it's got that other meaning, but my kids won't get it, so I can say it. Your kids know, right? They may not know word for word what you have said, but they know when you are referencing the other side, or when you're being sly or whatever not. They know. So just be as positive as you can, right? And I'm not saying that it's an easy thing, right? But sometimes the best things in life are also the hardest things to do. Right. And yeah, taking that shot across the bow may feel good in the moment, right? It may be cathartic for you, but what your kids get out of that is they get that negativity, right? And they don't understand that, that comment was a little bit of a catharsis for you. You've had a bad day, you've had a bad, you know, you've had a bad interaction or whatever not, so you just need to get a little something off your chest. They don't get it, right? All they know is daddy doesn't like mommy, or mommy doesn't like daddy, or mommy's mad, daddy's mad, whatever not. That's what they get out of that. So definitely be as positive as you are able to be, for the sake of your kids and for yourself too, right? Because you know what? Negativity breeds more negativity. That's all it breeds, right? There is no negativity that's going to bring about positivity in the end. It doesn't work that way, right? The only thing that brings about positivity is positivity. Right. That's one of the reasons why I called this the Optimist Guide, right? Because I wanted it to be a source of positivity, a place where we can talk honestly, right? And we can talk about hurt, right? Because it's real, right? It is real, right? Us guys have hurts, us guys have issues, and they are real issues and they are real hurts and such like that. But also a place where we can turn that into something positive, turn that into something good, right? Because our kids need us, right? Our kids, from wherever they are, whatever they find themselves in, our kids need us. They need us to be good, strong, upstanding men. They need us to be good role models. They need us to be, firm and honest and upright. And they need to see that, because what our children see of us as dads, right, as fathers, they are going to emulate out there. Our sons are going to be what they see from us, because they're going to see that as normal. Our daughters are going to tend towards men who are like us, right? Think about that for a second. Think about that, right? Your daughters, right? If you're watching this right now, your daughter is going to tend toward men who are like you, right? So, what do you want your daughters out there to think a man should be like, right? What do you want your daughter to think about how a man should treat another person or another woman, especially, right? Because as men, what we are doing, your daughters are learning that is how men treat women or other people in general. That's what they're doing. That's what they're learning. My daughter, if I'm being mean to people, if I'm, making those comments, if I'm treating people badly, right, especially other women, such like that, then my daughter is learning, that is the way women are supposed to be treated, right? And same thing with my sons, right? They are learning from me how they are supposed to treat women and how they are supposed to treat people, right? So the trick to that here, and then the point of that is this: if you are if you are taking those shots right across the bow, if you're making those snide remarks, if you're saying bad or mean-spirited things, or if you're just harboring all that, dislike and hate for, the other side, your children are picking up on that, and what they are learning is this is how it's normal, right? Because that's how kids are wired. Kids look at their parents for what is normal to do, right? That's why we have parents, right? We're looking to them for our lessons on how we are supposed to become adults. So just, we want to be positive as men as well. Yeah, we have real hurts and stuff like that, but we've got to show our kids because I don't know about you, you Curtis, but I mean, my dad wasn't around a lot, right? My parents got divorced, right? So I'm
Same.
part of that generation of men who didn't have fathers around,
Same.
right? So I've had to learn a lot of this stuff just myself, but I don't want my kids to have to learn it by themselves. Right? I don't
Exactly.
want my kids to have to learn it from TV. Like my role model as a parent was Bill Cosby, right? Not current Bill Cosby, not current Bill Cosby. Okay.
Cliff Huxtable.
Cliff Cliff Huxtable. Yes. Or even what was Family Matters? The one with Steve Urkel and the dad
Oh,
there. Oh shoot,
name
I've
Winslow.
forgotten it.
Carl,
Winslow,
Carl,
Carl Winslow,
Carl Winslow.
Carl Winslow. Yes,
Mhm.
right. Those were my role models as dads. Like I love my dad, and I have a very good relationship with my dad now, right? But he wasn't around a lot by necessity. And so my role models, how I grew up thinking about how a dad should be, were those black dads, right?
Hey,
So
Nikki said at least it wasn't like Daddy Warbucks or the dude from Different Strokes. The dad from Different Strokes. Oh man.
yeah. But the point of all of that is, right? Yeah, I mean, those TV dads were good role models, and I'm glad that they were on TV at the time when I needed them to be. But do you know who I want my kids' role model of what a father should be? Me, right?
Mhm.
I want to be that role model. I want them to grow up being a dad like me, right? And what that means is that I have to be a dad that I want them to grow up to be. You know what I mean?
Nikki's in the comment
Uh,
section active. Oh,
uh,
who else? What's the guy name
yeah.
from what's the show? The people in San Francisco, with Mary Kate and Ashley.
Oh, the Tanners, Danny Tanner.
Danny
Yeah.
Dyer, yeah.
And you
uh,
know what? Like he was a good dad, and he was a single dad too, right? He was a single dad too. I mean, I think in the story the mom died or whatever not,
Full House,
but
yeah.
but I mean he was a single dad. But you know what? I mean, and this is nothing against TV or anything like that, but he wasn't a dad that looked like me,
Mm.
right? And I mean, yeah, I joke about the fact that my blackness only goes skin deep, but the truth is the truth, right? Dad,
Right.
right? that
Uh,
full that full house family
eh,
didn't look like my family, right? It
wow.
didn't look like me,
They
right?
had that
But
expensive house in San Francisco. Like what? Like
mm, Well, he was a TV star, right? He did the whole
Yeah.
TV thing, so he had money.
Oh
Maybe
man.
he inherited it. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
So
I think it is getting a little close to time though.
yeah, for sure, for
But
sure,
I'm
for
super
sure.
excited. We have a lot of listen, we're wrapping it short, but only because we have so much in store. We just don't want to
Hmm.
give it all out at one time right now.
That's That's right. And let me tell you, in the background, we are talking about the topics. I mean, they're like as a dad, as a African American or African Canadian, I guess.
Right.
Right.
You ain't
Like,
American. We want to make that abundantly clear.
right, but we, even on that level, I mean, I know, like, one of the things that we said early on is we don't want to dig too deep into being black or whatever, not, because a lot of these issues are just for dads in general and fathers in general. But I mean, it is what it is, right? We're both, black men, and we do face a different set of issues on top of all the other issues as well. So, we're going to have lots of different conversations all the way down the pathway.
We gotta
Mike
make
can keep
Nikki
on going.
laugh. Oh man.
Oh man.
That preacher's
So
gonna start coming out in a little bit.
yeah. No,
Oh,
I'm not gonna do that tonight. But I do definitely want to say we've got lots coming up. I really do appreciate those who have come in those who are watching this on the replay. Again, I want to thank you guys as well. I do want to remind everybody, check out Curtis York on his channel, the Curtis York. We're gonna get this replay up on his side as well, so that you can find that as well. We are here at the Optimist Guides, of course. You guys know that. Check out my other channel as well, MNTV Fam, for news and travel and just family stuff. That's where you're going to meet my kiddos and such like that. You'll meet Curtis's kids on his channel as well. Again, big thank yous to Alicia for pushing us in this direction and getting this started. And I'm really looking forward to big things out of this. I think it's going to be really, really cool. Again, thank you to Nikki P for just bringing this group together. We're thankful to you guys. We're thankful, and I mean, I made sure that I had these ready so that we could talk about you guys, because, like I said, we wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for you guys, for sure. So thank you to you guys all. Definitely, we're going to have another live stream up soon. We're just working out the scheduling bits and stuff like that,
mhm.
because, especially for me, I actually prefer to do this when my kids aren't around, so that I can be honest and real, right? And if I know my kids are upstairs, sleeping, right? Right, then I'm gonna have to couch my words a lot more. So, because we do have schedules and such like that, we'll probably be working the live streams around there. But look for more up on the channel. We'll definitely post well in advance of the next upcoming stream, so that you guys can get in on them. But other than that, I want to say thank you to everybody for coming in. Thank you to Curtis for co-hosting with me. It has been just an absolute treat. And to everybody out there, just stay positive.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a great way to wrap it up. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Have a great night, everybody, and we will see you soon.